and gentlemen, welcome to what I should call Azeroth Nightly at this point. It's rather late, for the 4th or 5th, depending on where you are, of March 2011. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of WoW news and comment. In the headlines today, in an interview with Eurogamer over at the GDC, Blizzard has admitted that the Firelands raid will not be available in patch 4.1 and has instead been delayed to patch 4.2. The rationale that was given to Eurogamer was the fact that not enough people had beaten the raid content on the first tier to justify bringing in the second. Needless to say, I had an awful lot of things to say about this, and you may wish to check out the archive of Blue Please, which should be up tomorrow, and that will contain a great deal of, let's just say, lively monologue on the subject. We'll be talking a little bit more about that when bashiok tries to justify it in the blue post a little bit later on in the show. Blizzard is celebrating its 20th anniversary, and it's got a video from Mike Morhaime to thank all of the fans for 20 years of, I suppose, fandom. And they're also announcing a video contest which will require you to create videos based on 20 years of wonderful memories with Blizzard. However, they have not announced any of the rules, so nobody knows exactly what this is going to be about or who indeed will be eligible to enter. Needless to say, it was on the EU site, so one could assume that the EU and probably the US as well will have this availability, and of course I'll report on that once we hear something worthwhile. If Blizzard actually wants to thank us for 20 years of fandom, however, I would recommend re-releasing Rock and Roll Racing in an HD format, and then I will forgive all of their past sins. A new set of new player tips has been released over on the US Battle.net website, and this is in regards to add-ons. Bear in mind that most of the information in this comes from comments by the community. Some of these things are useful, some are not. A lot of them are just a big list of add-ons with no actual explanation, but there's the occasional post which is worth having a look at if you're looking for add-on recommendations. Alternatively, just watch Mod Your WoW every week. You might get some information from that. A new set of fan art has come out, and it consists of 5 images, one of which is far too hot for television, as you can see right there in the background. That is a hot version of Therazane, but my personal favorite has got to be this one right here, with the goblin, the treasure chest. It appears to be some kind of goblin pirate, and you know for a fact that that is awesome. You can go check them all out over in the description below this video. And with that, it's time for your Daily Blues. The big blue of the day has got to be bashiok's justification of the decision to delay Firelands until patch 4.2, and he goes on to talk about the way that the Wrath of the Lich King expansion was paced, particularly in terms of patch 3.2, which included the Crusaders Colosseum, and he claims that introducing that too early was actually the reason that Old War was never finished. Now, as I explained on the Blue Please show today, I heartily disagree with that, on the basis that, as far as I'm concerned, the reason people stopped doing Old War is that the Trial of the Crusader was too easy and provided better loot than Old War, so why even bother going back there? If they wanted to fix that, they could have very easily made the dungeon harder so that you actually required the gear, and more to the point, not implemented that badge system which allowed you to get tier 8 for running Utgard Keep. Which is, of course, the reason why no one bothered to go back to Old War. Why do a really long dungeon when you can gain access to the same gear by simply running 5-mans? That is the reason why, and it's unfortunate that they've decided to take the decision to delay the content on that basis. Not happy with that at all, bashiok and Blizzard, not at all. Milastra has this one, which is in regards to barad dailies. Apparently the spawn time, the density of the mobs, the amount of damage each one does, is making the dailies in barad horrible, and she wants a few things to be retuned so that they are not absolutely abysmal. Zarhym responds and says that the benefits for doing barad quests are very nice, and the balance of the zone partially relates to its sustainability as repeatable content. So because of how good the rewards are and how often they want people to actually be doing this content, they've decided to deliberately make it more challenging than you might expect. Which I could kind of agree with, honestly, but then again, daily quests are going to be mundane no matter how you swing it, so I have to wonder if it is all in vain. Whatever the case, I do respect their rationale on that one, and you can go read that in the description below this video. Or, of course, you can pause the video. A lot of people forget that you can do that. You're scrolling too fast, TotalBiscuit. Just hit the pause button, no problem at all. Now, this one comes in from Snarlmane, who is interested to know why exactly level 1 characters still have the ability to access trade chat, and claims that other games don't do this. Now, removing this would be a great step to getting rid of spammers, he claims. However, bashiok responds and points out that there are legitimate uses for trade chat for level 1 characters, and they do not believe that restricting the use of the trade chat to level 1s is a fair way of trying to block spam. Personally, I do disagree with him. However, he does make a very good point in regards to the fact that a lot of players use level 1 bank and trade alts in order to sell and buy products, so restricting the trade chat to those people would be unfair. It's an unfortunate dilemma, ladies and gentlemen, it really, really is. But bashiok reminds you to use the right-click and report spam feature in order to squash those spammers and report them as rapidly and quickly and easily as possible. And with that, it's time for your daily grind. I'm going to be starting a series quest down in the Southern Barrens right here that is situated around the Battle Scar, and this one called Flightmare is the start of the chain. In this one, we've got a Tauren who's extremely upset and angry about the bombing of Camp Terragio and is blaming the Griffin Riders in this area, and gives you a spring-mounted hook in order to bring them down to your level and show them no mercy. I was actually thinking, well, what's the point of using the hook, when I, of course, realized that this area is designed for around level 30s or so. So it's not such a great idea to give people quests that would require a flying mount. So there you go, there's a nice interpretation of the Magic Wand quest, and quite similar to the one that you remember perhaps from the Howling Fjord, where you had to use a modified ice wand to bring down drakes to your level. Very cool indeed, and we'll be covering this quest line over the next 4 or so episodes, and trust me, it ends with a bang. And with that, it's time for your weekly feature. I decided, because there were so many good entries, I'm going to do another Postcards from Azeroth and show you some more of those great recipes. There are no prizes for this particular set of entries, but I'm going to show them to you anyway, and we'll get back on regular schedule on Monday with the announcement of the next contest theme. So here we go, folks. Let's kick it off. This one comes in from Stanley Stone, who presents the chocolate-covered robot riding a raptor, riding a shark with a laser beam attached to its head, which seems to me to be overcomplicated in terms of cuisine. The recipe requires a personal world destroyer, a obsidian hatchling, a baby shark, a gnomish death ray, and 4 chocolate squares. Now, apparently, this should be done in an M&S advert voice. Okay, let's give it a try. A deactivated miniature robot riding a baby raptor, resting on a baby shark with a sizzling gnomish ray of death attached to it, dipped in the finest Westfall chocolate in all of Azeroth. This isn't just an inedible DETA-protected snack. This is a Marks & Spencer's inedible DETA-protected snack. Are you aroused yet? God, I hope not. This one comes in for Flavio Vrem, and this recipe is intriguing. Let's have a look at this one. It's boiled brain juice feast. That is scary as hell. I hope it gives you an amazing buff, and it looks like it does. The ingredients are a Librum of Tenacity, a Librum of Focus, a Scroll of Intellect, a Potion of Concentration, Peace Bloom, Monkey Brain, Highland Spring Water, and Cocoa Beans. Also needed are a relatively large cauldron and a cooking fire. Yes, and it will give a buff called Brain Power, which grants increased focus, a much greater attention span, the ability to move out of the fire, increase your level of friendliness and tolerance towards party and raid members, reduces chance of insulting party and raid members, and allows you to assume responsibility for your own mistakes instead of blaming others and raging. How? This one comes in from Amika Francis Owazareki. Wow, that's an awesome name, sorry. And this is a TotalBiscuit, apparently. First, we start with a vial of Trollface Mojo and mix it together with 1 epically large egg. Add a pinch of Life Spice for variety and let it settle for half an hour. Take your settled beta is beta batter and bake in the oven for 45 minutes, but don't let it stand in that fire for a minute longer. Serve with your choice of tea. This one comes in from Christina, who offers us this recipe. It's 5 volatile water, a spiritual soup, 5 roasted beef, 5 berry pie slices, and 2 winterfall firewater. And it creates the Violet Beauregard, a food buff that makes you blow up like a giant blueberry. Nice. I get the reference. I don't know if anybody else does, but that's cool. Yeah, that takes me back to my childhood in a kind of disturbing fashion. This one comes in from Ben Baker. It's a high-class Blood Elf cooking from Cabus. It's beer-braised dragon dinner with fried plantains. It requires a bottle of blood red ale, a dragon flank, a bag of mild spices, a hand of plantains, some oil rolls, and butter. Now, bear in mind that to ensure the freshness of your dragon flank, you will need to kill the dragon yourself. Good luck with that, and the instructions for putting this together are quite complex, so be careful if you're going to attempt it, but bear in mind you should cut the flank as thin as possible to ensure favorable texture. Little bit of troll cooking coming in here from Michael Bolan. It says, Edamon, have I got statting for you? Every cynical Brit after a long day shoutcasting, broadcasting, prancing while conducting archaeology and ranting. Need a good drink now and then. Yet not just any drink will quench a troll's thirst. Thus I present to you the Sour Green Apple Gurabashi Mojo Madness Martini. Served in a salt-rimmed crystal vial and a salted eye. Instead of... I'm going Newcastle in this, aren't I? I'm sorry. We a salted eye, like? Instead of a wimpy olive for garnish? A cocktail fit for the most epic of troll missions. Stop that, TotalBiscuit. God. Oh, God. Why? Okay, folks. I'll do one more. This is from Lemon Skittles. It's the monstrous cookie beast. It's so late. It is so late at night, I think I'm going crazy. The monstrous cookie beast, not to be confused with Cookie Monster, ladies and gentlemen, very important. You take many chocolate cookies and some snake eyes, bake at 666 degrees, Celsius or Fahrenheit, it does not matter. Let rise and run amok. Give it dynamite and firecrackers, lure it over a landmine, let it explode. Serves 10. Delicious, and by the looks of it, a little bit charred. Whatever the case, thank you for your submissions. They were most illuminating, and I think you may in fact be even crazier than I, which would take some effort. With that, it is time for the mailbox. This one comes in from Oscar, who says, Hello TB, I've been farming a lot in Oldham lately, especially for Whiptail, so I can make the Dark Moon cards. A few days ago, I started fighting a crocolisk right next to the herb so I could gather it. Unfortunately, another Horde player dives in and steals it. It wouldn't be a problem if it was Alliance, of course, then I could just stalk and kill him. But when a fellow Hordey does this, am I the only one who thinks it's childish? I did whisper him and asked if he didn't see me, or if he just ignored that where I was fighting and took it. I got the answer, life ain't fair, it's a game, kid, grow up. I'm not the one to whine all the time, but I do think I got the right to this in this situation. What are your thoughts on the matter? Well, the way that he reacted was douchey, there's no question about it. Life ain't fair, it's a game, kid. I'm a tough guy over the internet, blah-de-blah. But the point that he had, if he had had the intelligence to properly cogitate and express it, would be that, well, it doesn't have your name on it. How does he know that you're a herbalist? I mean, you're fighting a crocolisk right next to a herb. Why are you fighting the crocolisk? You could be fighting the crocolisk for any reason. He doesn't know that you're there to herb it. He doesn't know that you have herbalism. And at the end of the day, you can't just go and claim a herb like that. Either you pick it up or you don't. It's really as simple as that. And honestly, while I do feel for the fact that you had a little bit of wasted time, etc., and also he acted like a complete knobend, that doesn't mean that he wasn't in the right. Sadly, that's the way of things these days. People don't necessarily have to act with good manners in order to be in the right. So one has to simply accept that and move on. However, if you are going to do that to somebody and they do complain, then I would suggest that you point out to them that you had no idea they were a herbalist, and because you can't lay claim to a herb spot, then it was open to you and it was fair game, which, to be fair, it was. So, yeah, there you go. This one comes in from Jamie, who says, just a quickie that I've heard absolutely no mention of, thus as regards to 4.1. So, from my briefest of forays into the PTR, I noted there were random queues for both Tier 1 and Tier 2 heroics, where the Tier 2s are ZA and ZG. There appeared to be a daily heroic attached to both of these, with a reward of 70 valor points as of today, and 140 valor points respectively. I assume that both of those can be run in one day, providing a maximum of 210 VP per day, or 1,470 VP per week, which is greater than the weekly maximum. Given we all know your feelings on the point system, I was wondering quite how irate you would get at the fact that people would be able to get the weekly cap of VP without ever stepping foot in a raid. I imagine the answer between that is going to be somewhere between quite and very. Yeah, it is irritating, I've got to say. Why would they do that? I mean, we're not just talking about doubling the amount of points here, we're talking about effectively tripling it. That seems absurd, if I'm totally honest, and having done most of Zul'Gurub as a 4-man group, these dungeons are not difficult enough to justify that kind of reward. Now, I don't mind them, say, giving extra, a little bit extra, not much, mind you, a little bit extra, not double, a little bit extra for doing the daily in the Tier 2, but I would certainly hope that if you do daily in Tier 2, you will not get it in Tier 1. Personally, I don't think that Valor points should be given for 5-man content ever, but that seems to be something that Blizzard is damn obsessed with, and won't, for whatever godforsaken reason, back down on. Which is a great shame. I certainly hope they don't stack, and I certainly hope they don't go live with 140 VP, because that's just ridiculous. It really, really is. I can sort of tolerate it supplementing, to a small degree, the amount of Valor points that you're able to get on a weekly basis, so it just sort of helps out a little bit if you miss a few raid bosses or whatever. And of course, you can't actually reach the cap right now feasibly if you're in most guilds without going into 5-mans just because of the nature of the content, but that will change once the Firelands comes out in 4.2, so I would hope that they do not go ahead with that. Okay, folks, that is me done for the week. Thank you ever so much for watching Azeroth Daily, and once again, big apologies for the lack of episodes over the last week or so. Hopefully everything's back on schedule now. I will be back on Monday with another Azeroth Daily, and you can be expecting some more content over the course of the weekend. I'll be looking most likely at Zul'Aman, probably doing a more complete run of Zul'Gurub to give you a full guide format video, as well as a look at Jindo the Godbreaker, and we'll see what else happens to come along as regards to content over the weekend. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great and safe weekend, and I will see you next time.